So, Mega Man Star Force was a pleasant surprise. A mature story and character masking the more Battle Network cheesy Saturday morning cartoon plot layout that we're used to, but it made it work, it made it an absolute treat to play. Sure, the combat didn't quite prove itself to me, but it's got two other chances to try and rectify that. So, in that case, we now have Star Force 2. Zerker X Saurian, probably said it wrong, but anyways, we got that in this case. So, let's not waste any time and let's ride on and check and see what this thing's all about. Before even starting the game, there's a quick thing to note. Whether you get Ninja or Saurian, you actually get two modes to play with from the start. Either that or a Zerker playthrough, each with its own save file. I'll touch more on it later, but that was pretty weird. As well, we can make an auto brother. Again, I'll touch on that a little bit later on. Star Force 2 takes place 2 months after the first. After the destruction of the Andromeda weapon, life continues to go on for Geostellar. After 2 months, Geo gets a new device called the Star Carrier that has been phasing the Transer out. He's been doing better with interacting with his friends as they go into summer vacation. As the kids go to partake in a horror movie premiere, it's sabotaged by the individual who's able to wave change, all in support of one Lady Vega who has aspirations to take over the world. Okay, so the story does feel like a continuation of the first game, but I feel like there's a bit less depth than in the first. Later in the game, the plot does sort of resemble the themes presented in the first game, but it just doesn't quite feel the same. The baddies you fought in the first game were pretty much all individuals that were being taken advantage of, enticed to use these powers for skewed but understandable reasons. The villains this time around just feel more cartoonishly evil for the sake of being more cartoonishly evil, save for maybe one or two, depending on your viewpoint. On top of that, I think they got Geo wrong this go around. He does still mostly behave like the more cautious, optimistic character that he's grown into from the first, but too many times does Geo regress back into his recluse ways for a couple instances in the plot, most of which felt like scenarios far beyond his control. Don't get me wrong, the boy was very clearly suffering from depression that he's only just gotten over, and mental illness isn't simply dealt with by just admitting there's a problem and then everything's sunshine and rainbows. But the episodes he goes through, I feel, aren't something that would have triggered him before. I don't know. Subject's a little tricky. I just don't think this was the way Geo would normally react. In terms of the look of the game, it actually got a bit of a graphical update, combining more or less Battle Network 4 through 6 and Star Force 1 with Battle Network 1 through 3, kind of making a nice merging of the two, and I actually kind of like it. Character models get a lot more detail while still maintaining the chibi but more vibrant art style that we've seen before. Combat didn't really change much. You have less favorite cards to pick from, meaning less wild cards in the deck, but that never really felt like a hindrance. Getting into fights with large viruses can reward you with augment cards that raise the strength of the corresponding card, which is pretty cool. Partway through the game, you gain the power of the out-of-place art, or OOP art, I think. It essentially replaces the Star Force ability from the first game. Kinda makes the title not accurate, but I'm sure Mega Man OOP art doesn't roll off the tongue as well. It's essentially the same, except that you can equip an ability to allow you to start battles in the form, which is way better. You can still get knocked out of it by the form's weakness, but I prefer starting in it, at least. Which form you acquire depends on the version you boot up at the start, but there is a way to borrow some of the power from the other version on your cartridge as well. At basically the same time as getting the OOP art, the auto brother you made at the start contacts you and forms a brother band with you, granting you access to their cards that get automatically updated as you progress, like how the brothers worked last game. Or you can sacrifice the card to perform a double tribe, combining the powers of the Zerker form with whatever exclusive on your cartridges, granting you access to both buffs of each form. You can also access the special Tribe King form if you manage to link up with another person with the alternate cartridge. But that can only come from the auto brother or real life brothers you make. The regular brothers you make as you progress through the story only benefit you by raising your link power. Raising link power offers a variety of stuff. I don't want to say benefits because there's something about it that irks me, but I'll get there. Your link power acts as the amount of points you have to equip skills. Instead of just being awarded skills from brothers, you can find and equip abilities, usually acquire them from the hertzes that you save in battle, acting like the way the mystery data acted in the Battle Network games. Early on, you ain't going to have much to work with other than basic HP gains. Later on, you'll find other things like changing the charge shot pattern, which is sort of pointless if you use the Tribe On skills, or float shoes, which feels like a pointless skill as far as I've been able to tell in the Star Force games. All these cost link points, which can vary depending on the skill, and even then can be kinda random. My issue though is that you get an HP 50 right at the start that costs 50 points to equip. The amount that you find of the same skill can fluctuate above that, but when you come across HP 100, the points it usually costs are like more than 115 or so. By then, I'd just be better off just equipping multiple HP 50 instead, and there's no penalty to equipping multiple types. On top of that, presumably without linking up with real people, you really don't get all that much wiggle room to work with in equipping skills. Using the Tribon skill as well as the expected undershirt takes up a nice chunk of your early link power, and even by endgame there's not really much room to pick more. And then there's the side quests and their roadblocks. Ugh. So, the game establishes early on that people nowadays are super elitist now when it comes to link power, only willing to offer the best features or outright provide services to things depending on your link power. And that includes side quests, blocking you from accessing them until you get your link power high enough. And one in particular, at least, based on how I played, was locked away by the time I got to the end of the game, but that's not even the worst of it. So pulsing in now has you spawning not on the wave road, but on the ground, apparently thanks to the advancement of technology allowing waves to travel on the ground much easier. Humans can even sometimes see wave beings when a high concentration of EM waves is in one location. You can still access the wave road, it just doesn't take up the bulk of the other world in this game's case. You can still access comp spaces, but you still have to activate them to be allowed access, some of which you can't do until later in the story, which gets a little annoying in terms of keeping track of which ones you've already explored, since some get automatically unlocked without checking. In order to initiate side quests, you have to peek into people's star carriers when their icon is red as Megaman. That in of itself is annoying, but let me just show you what I mean. Take this spot for example. I run around as Geo since I don't want to get into battles all the time. Then I find this kid with a red tag. Mega can't just look in himself and tell me he's got problems, so I have to run back outside, pulse in, then run back in and interact with him, accept the quest, then pulse out, because now I have to talk to him again as Geo. I talk to him and he tells me that he feels like there's ghosts around him. Pretty obvious it's waves, so that means I gotta deal with them. But obviously Megaman can only do it, so now I have to run back out, pulse in, run back inside, talk to the waves and let them know that they're being weird. They say sorry and stop that. Now I have to pulse back out and run back in and talk to the kid again, who says, it's fine now, da-da-da-da, mission accomplished. Ugh. Holy moly, I don't think I've ever played a game with this monotonous of a side questing system. And that was just a basic one. As you progress in the game, you only get access to 3 local locations you can travel to by bus. More of the story takes place abroad, but since Geo doesn't have a passport, he's got to take the Skywave Road, this long-ass gauntlet that can take you to these locales. But since you need to pulse out in order to accept the quest, you can't just find the person and pulse back to where you started, like if a person at Netfrica needed something from Lectopia. So now you have to do everything I mentioned earlier, but then you'll have to take the Skywave Road to and from the destination again. And it's just so tedious. Ugh. But at least the scenarios are alright. Star Force 2 has next to no dungeons, crafting their scenarios around the wave road in their areas. Skiing down a hill to save some Hertzes, dodging eagle strikes while navigating to a proper torches, most are pretty good, but the final scenario, the one dungeon technically, blows. I feel like there's no rhyme or reason to the text you have to line up. Most of the texts past the first feel like they could have been swapped with each other at many points. Man, I didn't mean to get consistently negative throughout all that, but like, the story's a few steps down, and the combat is only like slightly improved, mostly like quality of life stuff. So, by that math, I do kind of prefer Star Force 1 over Star Force 2. Now, it's neat that you get an extra save file in Star Force 2, but unlike something like with Double Team DS, at least Double Team DS has like the different characters that you get to interact with the story and all the extra double souls that you're able to acquire. Star Force 2 doesn't really have all that other than the one different op art that I am presumably is the only difference throughout it all. And even then, if I was to replay Star Force 2 again, I am not doing a single side quest because they are just super tedious to try to do, and half the time the rewards weren't even worth it to begin with. I just felt like I just got stupid cards that I could find almost anywhere else. Because, well, yeah, it's sort of a big thing for me. Maybe not so much nowadays, but a game's ability for replayability is really important to me. When I was younger, I had to make do with the games I got for long periods of time, so starting fresh files in Pokemon for new teams, trying out new routes or levels I missed entirely in Mario, and sure, even replaying Battle Network 4 to unlock all the awesome double souls had more appeal. You don't know how many times I've replayed Resident Evil 4 because the combat is just so freaking good. Now I can play it in VR. Yeah, now I'm the snarky badass. But Star Force 2, unfortunately, even with the extra save file, I don't really see myself replaying this very often, if ever again. Hopefully, Star Force 3 can rectify that problem. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you saw, you can click right up here to check out some of my other videos that I've done, or if you really feel like it, you can click right up here to subscribe. And also, if you kind of feel like it, I'll leave my Twitter link down below. I know I don't post a whole lot, but at least you'll see when I post videos on there and some other stuff I like. I don't know, in case you feel like it. And until next time, guys, I will see you all later.